It was the Dutch Grand Prix that turned Ferrari's dream into a nightmare. Lap 23. Lewis Hamilton, running 7th and pushing hard on worn mediums, lost control at Zandvoort's infamous banked turn 3. A flash of rain on the slick surface, no warning from the pit wall, and the Ferrari slammed the barrier. It became his first DNF of the season and a brutal reminder of how quickly silence can destroy a race. 30 laps later, the same corner struck again. Charles Leclerc, fresh from a stop and fighting Antonelli, tangled wheels and was launched into the wall. 2 Ferraris, both destroyed at turn 3, both out of the Dutch GP. But here is the difference. Leclerc had a plan, Hamilton had nothing. No strategy shift, no lifeline, no radio call when it mattered most. And if that was not enough, the fallout deepens. Hamilton will now serve a 5-place grid penalty at Monza, his first Italian Grand Prix in red, for failing to slow under warning flags after his crash. One weekend, 2 wrecked Ferraris and a penalty that hangs over Ferrari's home race. The cracks are no longer hidden. The silence from Zandvoort could echo all the way to Monza. Hamilton's response was stripped bare of excuses. His voice carried the blunt honesty. "The moment I climbed the banking, the rear just let go. There was nothing left to save." Hours earlier, he had admitted the Ferrari felt edgy, a machine with nervous energy but undeniable speed. He had George in his sights, momentum pulling him toward the cars ahead, and that is where the unease begins. In the space between control and chaos, in a car that whispered speed and then snapped into treachery. The clouds broke just enough to turn Zandvoort into a board of calculated risk. Turn 3, steeply banked and unforgiving in the wet, was no longer a corner, but an ambush disguised as asphalt. Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, they saw the shift coming and adapted. Leclerc's pit wall reacted, pulling him in at the first sign of danger. But Hamilton? Nothing. No radio call, no urgency, no lifeline thrown when it mattered most. And that leaves the question hanging heavier than strategy itself. How does the driver with the sharpest instincts in changing conditions become the only one abandoned to the storm? The truth is, this crash didn't start with carbon shattering against concrete. It began with silence. By lap 21, the paddock knew rain was here. Visors caught droplets, radio chatter across teams mentioned grip loss, and even Piastri noted the track shifting beneath him. Yet Ferrari let Hamilton press on, chasing Russell, believing in momentum instead of warning him of danger. The sequence is brutal in hindsight. Lap 22. Leclerc dives in. Ferrari reacts with precision. Lap 23. Hamilton pushes on, blind to the storm, never hearing the words "box now." He launches into the banking, balance flickers for a heartbeat, and then the Ferrari spins into inevitability. Hamilton later said the car was edgy but alive, that he felt competitive, that he couldn't explain the slide. But the raw truth lingers in the air. Retirements like this aren't supposed to happen, not when the team had both data and opportunity a lap earlier. So why did they leave him exposed? Misjudgment? Favouring Leclerc's strategy window? Or simply failing to believe their veteran's race was at risk? Watch the replay closely and you'll see it wasn't just the rear of the car that gave way first. Telemetry from Piastri's McLaren tells its own story. By lap 22, he was lifting earlier, smoothing brake inputs, and respecting the damp line that was creeping across the apex. Norris, right behind him, had warnings in his ear. Verstappen was already throttling back, saving the tyres, protecting the lead. Hamilton? Nothing. On fading mediums with rain beginning to spit, he was given no call, no adjustment, no lifeline. Ferrari had Leclerc's data in front of them, yet left their other car blind. And that's the heart of it. This wasn't a question of slicks versus inters. It was about awareness, about adaptation, about protecting the driver when the track turned predator. Hamilton wasn't undone by his own hands. He was undone by the silence of the system built to shield him. So was this simply another Ferrari error or the symptom of something deeper? Word in the paddock says Zandvoort exposed not just bad judgment, but a fracture inside Ferrari itself. Strategy, engineering, Hamilton's side of the garage, none of them pulling in the same direction. The alignment was gone, and the result was inevitable. One insider claimed Hamilton was supposed to shadow Russell after Leclerc's stop, but when the rain hit turn 3, there was no roadmap for his side of the garage. The whispers speak of a strategy override mid-lap, too late to pit, too soon to change compounds. Hamilton still in full attack mode, believed in the grip and in the process, only to find that the process had already abandoned him. This wasn't one voice failing, it was the chain breaking. A team torn between philosophies, caution for Leclerc, aggression for Hamilton, delivered neither. They created hesitation, they created silence, and silence sent the Scarlet car spinning. That wreck was more than carbon meeting concrete. It was a metaphor, a driver pushing forward while the team around him stared sideways. After the wreck, Hamilton faced the microphones with the same armor he's worn for more than a decade: composure. It's definitely not great, but it is what it is. At first glance it sounded like resignation, but hear it again, it was calculation. He followed with something more revealing. I think we made real progress this weekend. I had the pace of a few cars ahead. That wasn't a shrug, that was a sting. The louder Ferrari stayed silent, the clearer the contrast became. A driver who felt momentum, cut down not by rivals, but by a pit wall that went mute. And this isn't isolated. Monaco, Spa, now Zandvoort. The pattern is unmistakable. Each time, the hesitation hasn't been in Hamilton's hands, but in Ferrari's calls. The question isn't whether the SF25 can fight at the front. It can. The question is, how long Hamilton can fight for a team that doesn't fight for him. Inside the garage, the silence told the story. Engineers buried themselves in screens. Mechanics looked away, and missing from the scene was Riccardo Adami. No reassuring hand, no quiet word, no promise to review what went wrong, just distance. One insider swore Hamilton sat there, helmet still on, waiting for a voice in his ear that never arrived. It wasn't just a crash, it was neglect. Compare it to Leclerc's moment. After his clash with Antonelli, he had instant support, debriefs, explanations, cover from the pit wall. Hamilton was left to do the post-mortem live on Sky, still piecing together what the team already knew. This is no longer about emotion, it's about hierarchy. And right now, Ferrari's hierarchy feels lopsided. The silence wasn't tactical, it was a signal, and Hamilton received it. So the question that has haunted Ferrari for years now looms again, sharper than ever. Who is this team truly built around? Because until they answer, equality between drivers will remain an illusion, and Hamilton will remain the one left alone in the silence. Race after race, the fissures in Ferrari's armor widen, strategy delivered too late, radios filled with static, choices that lean one way without ever being admitted aloud. What once looked like teething issues now feels like a pattern carved into the team's DNA. Hamilton didn't come to Maranello to play politics. He came to etch his name into Ferrari's history, but history cannot be written if the foundation is already cracking beneath him. And now, Monza looms, the temple of speed, Ferrari's holy ground, the stage where triumph is demanded, not requested. Yet the question hanging over the Scuderia is not about horsepower or tyre wear, it's about unity. Without it, the dream of revival turns into a slow, public implosion. In front of their own people, every mistake will echo louder, every silence will cut deeper. Monza will not simply test Ferrari's car, it will test Ferrari's soul. Was Hamilton's crash just bad luck, or proof that Ferrari left him out to dry? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, goodbye for now.